And my name is James Slim Overton, and I'm here with the other host of Portsmouth Coffee Talk, Leah Drake Stitt, and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How's everybody?
Every day is a good day.
Yeah, indeed it is. And we have a special guest here with us this morning, and his name is Ronald Goodrich. See any similarities in the facial looks of myself and Ronald. He's my brother, and we have him on, and he likes to say I'm the younger brother because he looks younger than me, but you know, he is my older brother, and we're glad to have him here. Good morning, Ron. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Like you say, it is a great morning.
Yes.
Just to be here and hang out with you guys for a while and have a nice conversation, you know?
Yes, indeed. And he's at the present time, Ron is a manager of boiler services at McClure Company, and he's been there since 1988. And I think the other day we were talking, or the last show, we were talking about how a lot of people now don't stay on jobs long because they switch from one thing to another once their interest, switches. And so he's been on the job for 48 years. Am I mistaken?
Well, 48 years, yeah.
Wow.
And he's a former instructor of safety and plumbing and pipe fitters local union 520. And now he's also a motivational speaker. He does this on his own, and a safety speaker. He goes around the country and gives those safety talks and makes people aware of how careful you have to be on your job. And he's a perfect example. He probably talk about it later of what can happen when you're not really paying attention. He was with Honeywell. But anyway, Ron, we wanted to have you on here, and thanks for agreeing to be on as we deal with our youth and some of the things that they're going through. And we're looking at the root causes of what makes our youth act out the way we do. And was talking to Leah earlier. She's involved with a study group, Bloomberg Harvard study, which they have made their first presentation, and then another presentation of what the results of their study is, sort of get to the root of the problem. But we talk about what some of our youth are going through, and a lot of us don't know what some of these our young people are going through in their family life. Or, you know, some of us can't imagine being a little youngster and having to worry about the rent or worry about where you're going to stay the next night. And some of these kids are going through that, so they're acting out. And so Ron has a story that's back from the early 50s or 60s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That are quite similar to what some of these kids are going through, and he's going to talk about it. I think the subject was something like poverty to prosperity. And Ron, if you will, start us out with what kind of home life, and he's a native of Portsmouth. He lives in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania now. But give us a little history about your life growing up in Portsmouth. And before you do that, Ron, like I mentioned, Ron is my brother, but I actually didn't meet him as my brother. We saw each other several times, but I didn't meet him until 1977 when he came to my door and said, "Hey, I'm your brother." And that's a whole nother story that we can bring him back and talk about that situation. I've talked about on this show about my adoption. But I spent a little time, which I don't remember, with Ron and my other two brothers, going from home to home, foster home. But I was adopted early on, maybe about Ron, I guess the age I was, that goes back and forth, but a lot, so young, I don't even remember some of the things that he will tell you about. But maybe I was blessed in that way. So, but anyway, Ron, I digress. Well, I'm not digressing. I don't want to talk too much, but go ahead and tell us about your experience growing up in the city of Portsmouth.
Well, my experience then goes back with my mom and my dad. Split up. My mom left and went to New York and left us alone. And my dad was actually in jail at that particular time. And me and my other brothers, we basically, as toddlers and little kids, had to fend for ourselves. And I can't remember. I mean, you were there also. You was the baby, and I just can't remember how long it was that we were alone. But I know it was a long time, to the point where we used to have to crawl out of the window and crawl down the rain spout and go and try to find food.
Mm.
And I can remember the day, and we were hungry. A lot of the kids today say, well, I'm hungry. Well, they're not hungry. They really want to eat. We were hungry. We were little kids struggling for our lives. And I can remember the day, in my book, I call it The Rescue, wherein we were in there cuddled up, trying to keep warm and everything like that, and actually started to break the door down. And as the door was broken down, it was the firemen and the police department came and rescued us. And we became wards of the state. We were put in foster homes and things of that nature. And eventually, at one time, all four of us was in one foster home. And then I guess Slim was adopted. To me, from my age, he had to have been somewhere about 18 months or something like that.
Wow.
And he was really young, and we used to call him Papa, you know. And but his Portsmouth name, because everybody knew my family in Portsmouth, was Poonsy. And even when he meet people today, people say Poonsy, that's what his name was. So we living in foster care, we were kind of like poor, but there was no real love there because it wasn't family, a really real family. And I always felt like we were being kept, for money and things of that nature. And, it made me angry when my mom and my dad wasn't there. It just made me mean, when I go to school and kids' parents are coming there and doing things. And I never had that. I can't ever remember being a child of anybody ever saying that they loved me. And once again, it just made me even meaner, and I became just a horrible person, I would say. And then, like I say, I used to see Slim or James a lot because I was one of those type of kids that was always roaming, just roaming. I lived downtown in Portsmouth. I would be in trucks that were just walking, and I would see him and I would run up to him and say, hey, you my brother, he didn't know. And then one time in particular, I can remember we was at the day camp at the YMCA, and I went to Slim and I said, hey, once again, I'm your brother. The one thing about this, we always knew where Slim was. We always knew. I don't remember who told us, or we always knew. But when I ran up to Slim that one day at the YMCA, and was kind of confused, he went home and told his parents and everything. Well, that was the last time he was at the YMCA. But growing up in Portsmouth for me is kind of horrific. So many bad experience and memories. Just growing up in foster care, being hungry. The other day I was sitting at home, and my grandkids was there from Virginia. They live in Portsmouth now, and they were eating cereal. And I was watching them eating cereal, and it took me back to the time when, when we were little kids, we had some cereal. And the first thing we had to do when we took the cereal out of the cabinet was to slam it down on the table until all of the roaches came out.
Oh.
Yeah. And then once the roaches all came out, that's when we went to eat. So life was hard. And then growing up in Portsmouth, back in those days, man, like Effingham County Street, I hung down in those areas and stuff down there and whatnot. And all I saw was, all I was exposed to at that particular time was drug dealers and They had all of the fancy cars. They had the money and stuff like that. But I decided not to go that particular route, you know. I went in the military, came out of the military, and I still had that anger deep down inside of me. I didn't trust people. You have to remember, you know, when your mom leaves and doesn't appear to care for you and stuff like that, there's a lot of distrust there. I couldn't trust. I had a problem with women. I was abusive and everything like that. Until one day, I actually found my mom, you know, and then I found out why the way that I was, you know. But life was really hard. And when I got out of the military, in Harrisburg here, I got a job with a company called Honeywell, big company. And I can remember they wanted a minority, okay? And I fit that mold for them. So I got hired. And once I got hired, you know, I used to work with the journeyman. I was a helper. And I went to my boss one day and I said, well, John, I want to be a boiler technician, just like Mr. Gary there, you know? And John told me, he said, well, Ronald, you would never be a boiler technician because you don't have the capability to learn.
Mm.
And this was in the early 70s, you know? So he told me I didn't have the capability to learn. I said, okay. I accepted that because from the culture and everything that I came from, you know, I just accepted what he said until that one day I went home and I was watching Walter Cronkite do footage on a spaceship that was orbiting the Earth. And as I watched this spaceship orbiting the Earth, they did a close-up shot of the astronaut. And when I looked at it, it was a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
It was a chimpanzee. And something hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, no, wait a minute. This man just told me that I didn't have the capability to learn, but yet this monkey is flying this rocket around the Earth. And I'm gonna tell you something, this is a true story. And when they did a close-up shot of this astronaut, this monkey, he looked like me, he pointed his finger and said, eat, 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 eat. And that was the turning point of my career. Because I said, if a monkey can do it, I can do it too. You know, and growing up in Portsmouth, there was a lot of violence and stuff. I had so many friends that get killed and everything. The first thing that came to my mind, I'm gonna get me a brick and I'm gonna hit this man upside his head because he just degraded me. But then something said, well, Ronald, you've been down the route before. And what did you gain from it? So what I decided to do was to get better. And I went to every trade school that I could possibly go to, because during that time in the early 70s, there was no such thing as equality. So whatever I had to do, I had to be better. Be better. And that's what I did. 48 years later, I'm still here on top of the game, you know, and I've been so blessed that I've had the opportunity to from my own personal experiences, which is long, to encourage a lot of other young people that a lot of them have had similar experiences as I did. You know, I'm a mentor in a private school for boys, you know, for orphans and things of that nature. And that's one of my pet projects because these youth need somebody that have been there to talk and let them know. It not only just been there, but was able to rise above all of the negative things that have happened in their lives, you know? And that's what I love about my job right now as a manager in a large corporation. That's what I love about having the opportunity to be a motivational speaker, to go out and talk to people. Slim would tell you, I'm a very social person. And as I talk to people, I find that there's a lot of people that had experiences like me, but was never able to take their life to the next level as I did, you know, and I didn't do it all by myself. I did have some help, but I was determined. I was determined that I wasn't going to let that monkey outdo me. I'm serious. That's a true story.
Ron, let me ask you this and just go back just a minute, because I kind of remember you said at one point all four of us were in a foster home, and
Right.
remember that being Miss Bracy.
Yes.
And I remember that through dreams. I didn't know what it was, but I remember those times, you know, I remember being there and have to ration the food and things like that. And being a baby, I would cry if I didn't get enough to eat. I remember that. So, but when you were coming up after I was gone and you were coming up and you said most of the people you saw that influenced you were drug dealers, was it anybody in the neighborhoods or anything? You said you went to the Y that gave you, you know, some kind of hope as far as a mentor or someone. I think you mentioned somebody, especially with the Y system.
Mr. Nixon.
Mr. Nixon.
Mr. Nixon. Mr.
Yes,
Nixon.
indeed.
Yeah, Mr. Nixon was every person's like me father. Mr. Nixon taught me how to drive. I mean, he, you know, and I was like slow when it came to the driving thing, but Mr. Nixon taught us how to drive. We went to day camp for free. I mean, he did so much. He used to take us crabbing. I mean, this guy was great in helping the youth during that time, because he did so much. Even when the Y was on Chestnut Street before they moved on Effingham Street, and I go way back. But he was always like a father to us. He was a great dude. I tell you, Mr. Nixon. You know,
he's still around, Ron.
I know. I talked to him. I talked to him when I was down last year. But he was great, mate. Like I say, he taught us how to drive. I mean, he did so much for a lot of, and like when guys got in trouble, he was right there with him in court, you know, helping them out and everything like that. But he was a great influence, and I really, really appreciate that, you know. Other than that, I really can't think of a lot of other people that really influenced me. Most of my influence came later on in life when I started my career. And I learned a long time ago that if how to say this, I don't want to say to offend anybody, but I've learned a long time ago that if you want to elevate your life, you gotta hang around and associate with elevated people. And that was something that I did, even to this day. You know, I'm a member of different clubs. I'm a member of a club called DOM, D-O-M, which is an acronym for Distinguished Old Men. And it's a great club out of Philadelphia. And hopefully a lot of the guys, they wanted to watch the broadcast this morning. They wanted to watch the broadcast this morning, and I hope they was able to do so. But in the organization is doctors and lawyers and guys who were superintendent of schools and a great bunch of people. And that's my circle. That's my circle now. This little guy from Portsmouth that grew up with so much anger have learned the better things in life. And I've been blessed to not only just have good friends, people who I associate with and things of that nature, but I was blessed with a lot of the other things, the luxury things that I saw all of the pimps and the drug dealers and stuff have back in the day, that I was able to get mine from hard work. And that's a key word for me, hard work.
And I want to say now, but I know that the other hosts have questions or comments for you, but even though you elevated yourself and you talk about that group of successful old men or men, you still stay grounded and never forgot where you came from and still come back to Portsmouth and you have family here, you have sons here, but you still back and visit those guys that are still around that you hung out with when you were at Norcom, and it was so strange, the story about you saying you knew where I was coming to Leah, coming to my basketball games.
Mhm.
And it's-
You came to watch your brother sit on the bench, didn't you? Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and not being able to approach me because, and I have to mention this, I think my parents were great, but I think my father knew the situation that we all were in. And it was some, you didn't mention it, and maybe you shouldn't, but it was some really horrific things going on, which caused Ruby, our mother, to flee and leave 4 boys. I mean, she was just that in that definite desperate situation. And but my parents, the reason they were just trying, you talk about the YMCA thing, they were just trying to protect me from maybe that kind of life. And so I can't blame them for that, but it was kind of strange. And before you left Portsmouth, who you had to run into in court.
Yeah. I went to court one day, and there was Mr. Overton. He looked at me. He said, "I don't want to ever see you again." No problem. Yeah. Yeah, I was a little hot-headed fool back then, and like I say, there was no family home upbringing, the streets was my life, at that particular time. And like when I go into prisons and I speak to prisoners, I go into universities and I speak to college students, and I go into, different schools and stuff. And from my own personal life experiences, I've gained a lot of what you might call wisdom. And from growing up hard like I did, I feel that I have a lot to offer in trying to help somebody. And that's what my goal is in life right now. It's just trying to help someone else to bring their life level up, that's what it's all about. I got some of my grandsons in the union, got my sons in the union, so they can make a decent living also, But will young people today work on a job for 48 years like I did? I don't think so. A lot of people ask me, why am I still working? Why I'm not retired? Well, it's not so much about the money right now. It's mostly because I found something that I got good at, something that I love. And I do not like people to say, I hate my job. I love my job. That's why I'm still working right now, all these years, I've learned a long time ago that, the money's there, but I just don't let money make me. I make money, and that's what I teach all the young people. And I drive a Bentley. I drive a Bentley right now. And all these young people see this Bentley here and they want to know, wow, what did you do? And I love that because I get to tell them, hey, hard work. You have to sell no drugs, and you have to do nothing illegal. Hard work, and actually the Bentley is a marketing tool for my motivational speaking business, because a lot of times when I go out to places that I can actually drive to, I take it along, and people will have a tendency to want to listen to me more when they see me drive up, because they say, oh, he must have did something right. But as far as the young people, they run up to me. They think I'm a basketball player. I mean, I'm 70 years old, no. But it's something that helps to inspire them to know that I got it legally without having to do anything illegal, to get these things. And I'm just blessed, just truly blessed, and just blessed to be able to share my story, because it is a pretty powerful story. What we're working on right now, I'm gonna let you guys know that, is a book. And the book is titled, How Did I Learn to Love a Woman? How How did I learn to love a woman? And that book is probably not at all like what you would think would come to your mind when you hear a title like that. But the book is basically about the relationship that I developed with my mom, who I found, just like I did Slim, and introduced myself. And I spent the last 17 years of her life taking care of her. And a lot of people ask me, they say, well, Ronald, how did you do that for somebody who deserted you guys and left you and stuff like that? And it's just one thing I could think of, and it's forgiveness. Through forgiveness, the Bible tells us, man, honor their mother and their father. I don't think there was no stipulations that I saw in there that say whether they did this or did that, And I was committed to do that. And it was, man, it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. But I did it. I felt committed to do that. I can remember when Slim was having his heart issues and stuff like that, I would actually drive to New York 3 to 4 times a week when my mom had cancer, just to be there with her, to comfort her and stuff. And then drive down to Portsmouth, for Slim. And they would always say, Ronald, you don't have to come. But the next thing I know, I'm there, and that's just the type of person I am, I would do it again. I would do it again if I had to,
Well, before we go on, it's almost 7, so I'm gonna sign off the radio and we can continue on Facebook Live. So I want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for being with us this morning. And we appreciate you. So we're going to continue on Facebook Live. So give the other hosts an opportunity to make comments or ask a question to you.
Okay.
Okay. First off, I'll give the disclaimer, and then the views listed on this program are those of the host and the guests, and not of anybody on the radio station before. So the radio station to know that we said this. But Ron, Cuz.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but your story is a story of overcoming, and it perfectly lines up with the old saying, where you start does not dictate where you finish.
Absolutely.
And that is a key point for some of these young folks out here in the street that think they can make that money, because they need to know. And as you drive the Bentley around, and I'll tell you a story about another friend of mine did the same kind of technique in recruiting, is not all money is good money when you're out there. And because there is some of the money out there, if you're out there, say slinging it, the law will catch you.
Oh, absolutely.
And and my dad always said, there are no retired drug dealers out there. Yes, because there's only 2 fates for them. One is either in jail or in the cemetery. Point line. So, and I love the story about your Bentley, because I had a friend of mine when I first went recruiting. His dad worked at the Corvette factory in Kentucky.
Yeah. Out
in I forgot where it was, somewhere in Kentucky. And so every other year he would get a brand new trade in, get a brand new Corvette. And so he would drive that Corvette to wherever he was recruiting. And as a young E6, E7, he would always say, you can be like me and drive around a Corvette. And if you join the Army, and we start our story like that. And so that's a good marketing tool with the Bentley. And I can see the difference, especially when you say, I made this on my own and I'm not an athlete, because or I'm not in the show business or a movie star, because I have a better chance of getting this Bentley through hard work and going to school, or actually with a trade, as you say, than I do the percentages are if I follow those other things, if I bounce in that ball. So I like to say, yeah, that's a great technique. So what would you be your advice to some of these young kids that are just wayward?
Well, first of all, I would say, find something that you really love, that you like, you love, that you have a passion for, and stick with it. And stick with it. That's what I did. I found something that I love, and I've been doing it all of these years. And I think that's what helped me, because it had my mind focused on doing one thing that I felt I could do very, very, very well. And there's a lot of young people out there that have so many different strengths and stuff, but they don't know it. They have no one to help pull it out of them and stuff like that. But basically, find something that you have a passion for and stick with it. And stick with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
So, go ahead, Colonel.
Well, the other piece is that I know you said, you tried to get all the education that you could and everything. I followed the same and still profess to the same sort of qualifier as when I came up through the military. I always told folks and professed that said, whatever the standard is, I have to have two of.
yeah.
And if you have two of, then now that I can sit at the table as an equal, if I have twice as much as those that people that look like that wall of yours behind you.
Oh yeah. But
And
but you know something. But you know
Yeah.
something, Colonel?
Mhm.
I'll tell you. Not only did I get the trade education, I taught. I taught in the trades for 27 years.
Mhm.
So I basically trained and taught thousands of people over the course of those years, wherein a lot of them actually work for me right now.
Mhm.
And out of Local 520, Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union Hall, all of the companies, Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Siemens, all of these union guys in my area here, I taught them all.
Mhm.
So I'm well known and well respected. And I think once you get to the point where you can gain the respect of a lot of the young people,
Mhm.
and they come to you and say, well, Mr. Goodrich, I want to be like you, because they see all of the bling and all that kind of stuff. And my words to that is, you don't want to be like me. You just be the best that you can be,
Yeah.
be the best that you can be, and don't always just be trying to grab for the low hanging fruit. No, always reach higher, and that's my words, as far as that is concerned.
Well, you know what? You also talked about people saying, I want to be like you. I always told folks, I want you to be better than me,
Oh yeah.
because you just don't want to have that be equal on the same level. I want you to be better. That's why I'm out here. But I know Leah's dying to get in.
No,
But you had one piece that you talked about the unions.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that, and this is a discussion that we have across the country, especially the Confederates out there that have been anti-union.
Mm-hmm.
Unions have played probably the most important piece in of getting folks of all colors to the middle class and beyond, because they raise wages and also raise benefits, where our non-union brethren are lagging behind, even though they may have a check. Say they work in the non-union auto factories down south in some of these Confederate states. They think they're doing ahead, but they don't have any real benefits versus the unions. And my brother is electrical union, belonged to an electrical union. And so I'm a big union fan myself.
Well, I am too. And can I say one thing? What I found is, before I got into this union, I found a lot of people of color didn't have opportunities to even get in, because there was more nepotism going on and things of that nature. And even to this day, a lot of the people of color that's in our union we're in the same United Association with the ones that's in Norfolk and all over the world now,
Mhm.
but we were excluded from a lot of these unions, wherein these guys are making big money,
Mhm.
and for all of these years. And like I say, even in my local union here in the Harrisburg area, most of the people of color, I've kind of like gotten them in, and unfortunately, a lot of the people that I've gotten in got kicked out
Mhm.
because they're not willing to go the extra mile and do what they have to do. They just think everything's going to be given to you. You don't have to work for it.
Mhm.
Uh, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, if I'm building something, I want a unionized member there because I know the product is going to be okay versus that non-union. They're just going to say if they're building a house, I may build a house up, but there's no insulation in the wall. Versus
Yeah.
they are going to go too standard or above standard. And so I'm a big union man because you have to have standards.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, Ron, I have some of the watchers who, like Pastor Cavaniss Hines, asked, do you have a relationship with your other siblings at this time?
Oh, absolutely. My brother, well, my one brother, Shelby, he passed away. The one that was in the military for all of you, he passed away maybe 15 years ago, I guess. And about my oldest brother, Butch John Goodrich Jr., he lives in Harrisburg right now, and he's doing okay. He has some heart issues and things of that nature, but he's doing fine. Yes, but we've all over the years have been in touch with one another. And if you looked at the promo that Slim had, that he posted there, there was a picture. Is the only picture that I know of that all four of us together.
Mhm.
Slim, do you remember what year that was?
It was in the 80s,
Yeah.
maybe like 85 or 86.
And every time I look at that picture, I say to myself, gee whiz, if we all could have been together, man, who knows? We
Mhm.
could have Temptations. We could have been the Four Tops. We could have been.
Ron, you went
Yes.
you went from a dysfunctional family of four young siblings trying to make it
Mm-hmm.
to where you are today with a wife and 37 children,
36.
36 grandchildren,
Yeah.
and how many great grand?
9.
And 9 great grand. So
Yeah.
you went from that the four of you to this massive group of individuals. Now, how do you, that's a lot of love there.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a lot of love, you know?
Love to give. Yes, it is.
So you went back and you found your mom and you worked with her for 17 years. You showed love to her for 17 years. And I know we haven't discussed why she left, but there had to be a reason for a mother to leave her 4 young babies in that situation. But let's talk about the family dynamics now.
Okay.
I kind
You
of
mean
took it around in circles, I think, but anyway.
as far as family is concerned?
Uh-huh.
Um, well, anybody that knows me well knows that my family is pretty important to me right now. My grandkids, my kids, and everything. I love them. I just wanted to make sure that my children and my grandkids never had to suffer like what I did. Because when I say suffer, I mean that's an understatement of what it was like growing up during those days and during those times and stuff like that, and not to not to feel wanted. I love my kids. I tell my kids are like in their 30s, 40s, in whatever 50s. I still tell them I love them. I still hug them. I never had that, and I want my kids to be able to have that same relationship with their children. You know,
I
family.
kind of brought that up, Ron, because a lot of times when young people go through what you went through, they're not able to pass that love on to those who enter into their lives. like you said, you had some difficulties at first
Mm.
in dealing with women
Yeah.
based upon what you went through.
Mhm.
But a lot of them, they can't transition from where they were then to where they are today. And they just carry that baggage along with them. How were you able to release whatever you were feeling as a result of your mother having left you, and where you can dispense this love upon your children, your wife, and your grandchildren?
Well, excuse me, to be honest, it all came about when I really met her. And when I say met, I'm talking about tried to build a relationship with her. My mom Ruby there. That's when I realized why I was the way that I was, because the way that I was with all of the meanness and the anger and everything, I was actually striking out at her,
Mm-hmm.
And that may sound hard for a lot of people to understand, but it was like a life-changing experience, especially the time when I started to call her mom, and she said, "Ooh, that makes me feel some kind of way,"
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was one of the turning points in my life too, that made me realize, man, like I say, I'm never going to have this kind of relationship with my children,
Mm-hmm.
my grandkids, and for that, I was blessed with so many,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know,
And so your mom had an opportunity to experience some time with your children and
Oh
your
yeah,
grandchildren as well.
yeah, and they love her, and they all loved her, I mean, I loved her. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
loved her. That's why I did the things that I did, but it was just hard for me to just deal with the fact that whatever the situation is, somebody will leave the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was just hard. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, right now, like I say, when I look at TV and look at Facebook and see the bears in the woods, they have little cubs, and you get near those cubs.
Oh yeah, she's gonna fight you. Mama Bear's gonna fight you.
He's gonna fight you. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
my mind, that's what mothers do.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved her. I think she, if you understood some of the situations she was in, maybe she did have a good reason. But as a child, it was just hard
Mm-hmm.
to. But I just wanted to make sure that my children and my grandkids never had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
We do so much together. I can remember when we came down to see Slim one time. I don't know where Slim posted that picture or not. I bet you it was about 20, 25 of us, came down to see Slim and stuff. We came to the beach, my place at the beach there and stuff. And that was great for me, because families
Mm-hmm.
really, and when you see those pictures there, you'll see it. I love family reunions. I just love family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's really, really important to me,
And what about your father?
Well, my father actually lived in Harrisburg. He lived in Harrisburg. Of course, when I got out of the military for the Indian Town Gap, he lived in Harrisburg, so it was easy to stay here because he was here.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was somewhat a legend in Portsmouth. He was a piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people know my dad was a piece of work. My dad was angry. You want to know why? He grew up an angry young man. I mean, would fight. I mean, he was like nuts, because he didn't know who his parents were.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up probably worse during the time when he was coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and he lived in Harrisburg. And to be honest, he did very well in life, and whatnot. And he opened up his doors, and we lived with him for a while until I bought my own property and everything like that. But he was always there, But during that time when we were a ward of the state and it took us away, I do know that he had a restraining order against him, that he couldn't even come anywhere near us. And if he did, because he tried, he tried so many times, and they wasn't having the social services department wasn't having it and stuff. So, it's just so much with all of that. I mean, if when we get to the point where this book comes out, you'll be able to understand and read a lot about what all the little small details, that we don't have enough time to talk about it, because it's really heavy, it's really deep. And that's why the book is being written not only to trash my parents or to do anything like that, but it's to help somebody else, and especially a lot of these young people that's running the streets right now, killing each other and doing all this crazy stuff. It's horrible. Down there, here, just in Harrisburg, same way. And I get out there, man, I try to talk to them and just give them some words of wisdom, and just try to lecture to them. As a motivational speaker, I have certain topics that I speak on, and I speak on these topics, not because of a book that I read or anything. It's all life experiences. One of the main, my big money maker as a motivational speaker is safety in the workplace. We talked about that. How I became a motivational speaker in the first place is I was injured at work. I was electrocuted. I was dead and revived and brought back to life. God gave me a second chance in life. That was another turning point of my life. And when I survived that accident, which was horrific, I was burned over 40% of my body with second degree and third degree and thermal burns, from the arc flash of the explosion that occurred that day. Changed my life. So when you heard me talking about a lot of things that I can talk about to encourage and motivate people, trust me, it's a lot. But one of the main things that I talk about, I have a 50-minute lecture on the word no, which is a very, very powerful word. The second word is stop, which is another powerful word. I have a lecture on asking for help, especially to the young people, because a lot of people are locked up or dead, running from the law, all kinds of stuff, because they did not say no, and they did not stop, did not ask for help when they felt that they needed it. So there are some basic words that I use, man, from my own personal life experiences to try to encourage others, especially the young people, and I travel all over the United States and Canada doing this. This is not like a little thing that I do. I'm basically known all over the world. This little guy from Portsmouth that came from nothing to be known all over the world of trying to encourage and inspire other people. It's amazing. And I feel truly, truly blessed.
And it's important to understand generational hurt, because it can continue on unless someone breaks the cycle. And as Antoinette Chapman said, you learned one of God's greatest premise for us, and that is to forgive. And to be able to get through all that you went through and to be able to forgive is a great thing, because some people never get to that point of forgiveness. And when they don't get to that point of forgiveness, then they can't live a good life, because they're harvesting all that hurt and hatred within them. And it staggers them. It keeps them into one place. And that's what we find with so many of our young children. There's so much hatred and so much hurt in them that they can't move beyond that point, and they can't see a life for themselves because they're harboring this inside of them. So it's good when you can advance beyond, forgive, and move on with your life. And I commend you for that.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about the monkey story there, how I've decided to educate myself, but I even went a little further. I even got a college degree. At 42 years old.
Doesn't matter when. That's a good thing. That's right.
At that particular point in my career, I really didn't need it because I was already
exactly
making it, but it was a personal goal. And that was one of the things that I talked to young people about also, you know, you still can do it, you know, still can do it. It was a personal goal, something that I did from Michigan. You know, it took me a long time, but it was something that I set out that I wanted to accomplish, and I did that. You know, so when this book comes out, I'm gonna tell you, How Did I Learn to Love a Woman? It's gonna be one of the most powerful reads that you will ever have, and I just can't wait to get it out there because I think it's going to inspire and help a lot of people that have had some hardships in their life, but never been able to take it to the next level. You know, I'm telling you.
How long do we have to wait for until this book comes out?
I don't know that. Well, I'm not writing the book myself. I have a writer. In fact, the guy that I'm trying to work with, his name is Takashi Buford. He's from Harrisburg, but he lives in LA. And he wrote, he's a screenwriter. He wrote the movie Booty Call.
Okay.
Set It Off. And so many other movies. And he just came out with a book called Stony. So that's who I'm trying to work with to get this thing done. And he's a good friend of mine. And he's big time. And hopefully we can get all of the other details and everything. We got started and stuff like that to get it out there, because I think it's going to be very important to help a lot of people.
Hey, I just have to say, I had a chance to meet John and Ruby, birth parents, and by calling them birth parents, there's no slight on them. I had the opportunity, you know, but I used that description because, you know, who I remember as my parents, or who I know as my parents, are James and Fanny, and I call them my parents. But I had the opportunity to have a relationship with John and Ruby, and it was also important for my daughter Jamie to know, and she, as later in Ruby's life, drove from Tennessee one time when she was sick to Harrisonburg by herself, just to help out with her grandmother. So it was important. And another point that when everything came to light, you know, my family with the Colonel, because I always admired them, because Colonel and Michael and David, you know, they were all three brothers, and I always admired the fact that it was those three guys together, and they had a bond. And then finding out that I had three brothers was kind of special to me. And glad I got a chance to meet all of them, especially Shelby before he passed away. He was like the funny guy in the family. But, I said that to say, you know, it's just so important to, and Leah, you touched on it, you know, breaking that generational cycle of continuation of, you know, hate. It can only start when you decide in your own mind to forgive those that you hold responsible for the way you are now, and probably are. So, you know, Ron has broken that, and going forward, you know, as the Goodrich family expands, especially on his side, that, you know, it won't be that kind of a life that he went through, and that I can say we, because like I said, I remember all part of it. But I think once I was adopted, a lot of that stuff I just blocked out of my mind subconsciously. And I talked about it before, that I had those memories in repeated dreams, but they were memories. But the rest of it, I just kind of blocked it out, because maybe I did remember some of the bad things, even though I was really young. But you know, I can remember being with my three brothers and them looking out for me, you know, holding my hand, walking down what I believe was Effingham Street. You know, so vividly remember those things. And like I mentioned, Miss Bracely, who was I think she was the only one that was a foster parent, that was a true loving foster parent. And like you said, some of them were just in for the money and was just a place for us to lay our heads. But Miss Bracely was more like a mother, and had a chance to meet her later on in life. And when I saw her, she looked like the memories I had, even though she was well advanced in her age. So it was just special to have Ron on here to talk about that, poverty to prosperity, and how that hope is out there for all the young men and ladies that are out there that probably see no way out. And the only way they see is the street, because that's who is embracing them. We had Joe Hainsley on here last week that is doing remarkable work with our young people. And like a lot of other people out here. But these stories need to come out and be told so people have an example. They can look forward to seeing, because Leah, I think one time you mentioned about some of the people that young kids you were working with, they had no hope. They didn't see the next day, or they didn't care about the next person, if they shot him or not, because they didn't care about themselves.
Didn't care.
These stories.
And James, and the thing that I like also about what Ron has said is the fact that he didn't use it as a crutch. So many of the adults use it as a crutch, because my mother did this to me, or because my father did this to me, and that's why I do what I do. But it's only a crutch, and I'm glad that he did not take that crutch and grab a hold of that crutch, but he moved on with his life and did something special with his life, especially for he and his family, and for those in the community as well, because he's helping many others. As he tells his story, he's probably helping someone else to heal, which is a blessing within itself, So I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm so thankful that you brothers, my computer's getting ready to pass out on me, so I'm trying to find the plug. But anyway.
But let me mention Leah too. He is the singer in the family.
Oh,
Has
are
a
you
remarkable
all
voice.
related to the Goodriches here, who in Portsmouth, the ones who from the the Goodriches over near you, James?
Michael and all of them?
Michael, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the funny thing about it is, when we were in school, we used to always say that we were cousins because we had the same last name.
Right.
Until we went to a family reunion one year. I said, wow, and then we found out we really were, and that's how, dysfunctional families or broken families have relatives out there, got the same name, and they really don't know one another.
Exactly.
But and Slim had the opportunity to go to the family reunion to meet so many people from all over the country and stuff like that. And what we learned was, as bad as our situation was when we were growing up, a lot of the Goodrich families were very prominent people.
Yeah.
We had a lot of teachers, in our family. And Slim's daughter was a teacher. My brother Shelby's son was a teacher. I was a teacher. My wife is a teacher. A lot of teachers. My son Johans, that lives in Portsmouth, who's a pastor now also, was a teacher. His wife was a teacher. So when we go look at the history, we found out a lot of our ancestors from way back were teachers.
Leah, you Mr. Goodrich at Truxton.
Yeah.
So he's a part of the Goodrich family.
Part of that family, yeah. Love Mr. Goodrich at Truxton, yes.
Hey, Ron, hit a note right quick. I know it's early in the morning. Maybe
I was waiting on that.
It's too early in the morning, but
you are so beautiful.
I can't do that, Slim. It's too early in the morning. I'm still like cracking, a little bit.
Oh no, you're not. You've been talking for an hour now, man.
Because I heard through the grapevine that your voice sounds like Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes.
Delphonics.
Yeah, well, I can I have a wide range. I can do a lot of the falsetto stuff, like the Delphonics and the Moments, and like Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind and Fire. I can do all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
And that's what we used to do when we used to sing on the streets.
The doo-wop on the corner, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to call no names, but with the fellas out there, they were some real thugs too. But they could sing, But
so you didn't pass any on to James. James didn't acquire any of that.
No, but
he was the only one.
I've done a lot of things in my life and had a lot of opportunities with growth. And like I said, I didn't do it all by myself. I had some of the right people to come into my life so many times and to help me steer me in the right direction. And what I've learned is, man, when you associate yourself with positive people, man, it rubs off.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
rubs,
That's the main thing.
and then once it rub off on you, you have to let it rub off on somebody else.
Exactly. Pass it down.
I have a photo in my home right now, and the photo was, you may have seen it. It was painted. I'm trying to think of the artist, but it's a guy reaching over the wall, and he's pulling
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
hand up.
Yeah.
Okay, and every morning when I leave the house, I look at that because it's inspiration. Meaning, when you get to the top, you're supposed to bring somebody with you.
Exactly.
You're supposed to pull somebody up with you, and if you don't do that, being on top don't means nothing.
Means nothing
You
at
know,
all.
you definitely have to pull somebody up, and that's what my goal in life is to bring as many people up, man, as I possibly can. You know, um, that's my life goal until the day I die. I tell you, you
Yeah, I
know.
have to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Anita. We call
Oh,
Anita, Ron's wife, who has been there through that journey as well.
yeah, she put up with me for all these years. Yeah. And the funny thing, I met Anita during the time when I was making the transition in life, so she can tell you some stories too, she can tell you some stories. But there's been all these years, and I never thought that in a day in my life that I would have been on a job for 48 years, that I would marry to one person for 30 some years, to have all of these kids and grandkids and just the love that's there, Well, you know it, and I have two sons that live in Portsmouth. My son Johann Goodrich, which he was on the show a couple of years ago. He's doing very well. And my one son, who was in the Navy, I think he's been in the Navy 12 years, and he just re-enlisted for the next 6 years, 14 years, because I think this 6-year enlistment, he will get his 20 years in. And I'm proud of all of the kids and stuff, And you guys, I better do a little shout out for my daughter. I had one daughter, the rest are all boys.
I was going to ask you, how many girls in this union
Just
here? One
That's-
girl.
And she just she's like 43, and she just
she's gonna be upset with you for that. But anyway.
Well, she's probably asleep right now because she just had a hip replacement.
Oh, okay.
Just had a hip replacement, 40 some years old, hip replacement, and in 3 months she's going to have the other hip done.
Oh, wow.
So I just had to give her a little shout out too, But yeah, but that's my baby, my only daughter.
Only daughter.
Let me say this. I know we're running out of time, but as a parent, I was one of the most protective parents that you could ever. You didn't mess with my children. I would get that brick and hit you upside your head when you mess with my kid. I was one of that ghetto would come out. Don't mess with my children. I was one of those type of parents. My kids, they actually, we joke and we laugh about it, and they get on Facebook or TikTok and they mark me, what I used to say about my kids. Oh, you don't mess with my kids, But I was one of those type of parents. I was really protective, especially my daughter, my one and only daughter, And I love them all. I have no favorites, all the same. The grandkids, as I get older, and they come up with all these funny names and stuff like that. There's no more Bobs and Mary and Sue and nothing like that. They got all... So
names you have to have a college class just to pronounce the children's names now.
Don't even ask me how to spell them. I'm like, but it's all good. It's all good. I love them all, and I just hope this morning that I could have been a blessing to somebody, knowing my story. And the story, as we talked about this morning, it doesn't touch the surface of the whole story, but we just highlighted some different things here that I'm hoping, like I say, somebody will understand that I'm not trashing my parents. I love them. My dad passed away last year, or I think it's been 2 years now, I believe. My mom, but people need to hear this, you know, because as I travel all over the country, I find that there's so many people that have had similar experiences, but never been able to rise above it. You know, and I see it every day. And I'm like I said, I'm a very social person, so I talk to people. And when I talk to them, somehow or another, it comes out. You know, they open up to me and they tell me these things, and I say, "Well, let me tell you this," you know. And I think that's what life. I think that's the gift. When God gave me a second chance in life after the accident, I think that was one of the gifts that He gave me to try to help somebody else, you know, because I almost died. Let me tell you something. When the grandkids come over to the house, I let them do pretty much what they want to do. That's what this house. But on my TV stand, my youngest at that particular time grandson had his handprint on the glass part of that, on the glass part of the TV stand. And as I sat back in the recliner, I could see and I look at this handprint and I said, wow, thank God I'm able to see that, because I almost died one day and I would never had the opportunity to see my grandson's handprint on glass. Question to you all who may be listening: what is the handprint in your life right now? You know, there's a Dr. Steve Elko uses a phrase that I use when I lecture a lot. And this is what I tell to the young people. And it's simple: be where your feet are. Be where your feet are. And first of all, understand what that phrase could mean to you. Be where your feet are. I know what it means to me, you know, but it may mean something different to everyone.
Everyone, that's right.
But it's very powerful stuff. What's the handprint in your life? What is something that inspires you and makes you thankful that you have the opportunity to do the things that you do in life? What is your handprint? That's mine, my grandkids. Just look at that. You can wash all around it, but don't touch it.
Wow, wow, Ron, and wow, we're closing out, but we really appreciate that. Was part of your lecture series. Made some really good points, and I thank God for the day that you came to my door and said I'm your brother, because it was something going on internally with me with the memories, trying to figure out what was going on, and you kind of opened that door, and finding out that I was playing basketball with first cousins and didn't know.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people that went to Norcom were a part of my birth family, and so you opened a door for me. And what I appreciated about it as well is how collectively we came together as a family. You know, with Tommy and on my mother's side, and well, mostly on my mother's side, and now we all as one. We interact together. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that story. I'm sure it's going to help someone that's going through something similar. And I think one of the things we'll get out of that is, you know, if you're going through something, you have to first heal yourself. Before you can appreciate, you know, what's out there for you, or learn forgiveness. And then you can take it from there, you know, and then the sky's the limit. But as long as you suppress or holding on to that hate or whatever you're going through, it's going to hinder you in life, you know, being all you can be. So we appreciate your message and you coming on, and maybe you'll come back again, especially when the book is ready to come out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, people are going to be really intrigued when that book comes out, when you really get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
You know, because I've heard the stories, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know.
But I know you get ready to go, but there's a part of the book called Pimping.
Mm.
pimping. And this is a true story. I want everybody to know this. Work, I contribute my young childhood life as to my success today, because I was always like a hustler. I had to survive. It was all about survival. But I used to always be working as a young child. I can remember about 8 to 10 years old. I used to work in this hotel in Portsmouth called the Blue Haven Hotel.
Oh, where was that?
Huh?
Where was that?
It was on Green Street.
Okay.
It was a hotel, the
Blue Haven.
Okron Hotel. But at this hotel, as a youngster, I used to go and get the sailors and bring the sailors back to this hotel.
Watch your language.
Oh, pimping. You were pimping. Go ahead, pimp. Go on, pimp.
As a young man. So that's a whole chapter in the book. And a lot of people say, oh man, I don't believe that. True story. You know, I used to go get and got paid. So that was one of the things that the guys write in the book. He really loved that part of it because he was thinking about a movie. Oh man, I like that. Story. So what is funny is the funny part of the whole story. A little kid. Can you imagine a little kid?
Hooking sailors up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I guess that's why the mother used to say, "Oh, the ship's coming to town. Bring your daughters and your dogs in, because the sailors are in town."
Oh yeah. So, but like I said, there have to be some fun in it also. And and when I lecture, I try to keep it. I could talk about just about anything because as a motivational speaker, I have many types of audiences. So like when I talk about safety, and I go in the coal mine and talk about safety, or the construction site, but yet I go to one of my clients is Merck Pharmaceutical. So I go to pharmaceutical, all these people in this plant got white jackets on. So you can't give them the same message as you do the people that's in the coal mines. Or altar, they don't know the mechanical stuff, So I've learned how to adjust my messages to whoever I am speaking to. Whether it's like I said, going to the prisons and going to the schools, and like I say, I have a motivational session on leadership, wherein I did at Syracuse University about 6 months ago. So God has given me the gift, man, and trust me, I'm going to use it.
That's right.
Excellent.
Well, I want to say, Ron, this has truly been a pleasure to meet James' brother, James' older brother, and the motivational message that you gave us on this morning. I truly appreciate it, because I'm sure that it has helped some individuals to reflect back on their lives and think about some things that they need to do in order to heal themselves so that they can get to a better place in life. So I want to say thank you so very much for what you brought to us on this morning. And I also want to thank Linda Herndon, who is in Gaithersburg, Maryland, who's watching, and Angela Webb, who's in Birmingham, Alabama, watching. So I just want to thank everyone who tuned in this morning. And if you happen to miss a portion of what Ron shared with us, later today, James will have it on Coffee Talks YouTube page. You may go on that page and you can go back and listen to the powerful message that Ron shared with us on this morning. So Ron, once again, I want to say thank you so very much for coming on. I look forward to the day that I will have an opportunity to meet you in person, and I will have the opportunity to hear you hit that note that you hit for us on this morning. So once again, thank you, Ron, so very much for coming on Portsmouth Coffee Talk.
Happy to be here. Truly blessed to be here, to be honest, because the more I get the message out there, the more gratification I have in life.
Yes.
And I'd like to.
And kind of before you go, I dare not end it without saying all of our local folks, Patsy and Michael Freeman and Sheila Davis and all of you who come on, Pamela, Easter, Eric Perriman, all of you who come on regularly to listen to Portsmouth and to watch Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Thank you as well. I thank you so very much. Okay, Colonel.
Yeah, Ron, thanks for coming on, and it's been enlightening, and you've opened a lot of folks' eyes because one, like I said, where you start doesn't make a difference where you finish.
Exactly.
Where you finish is what really counts, and so your life has epitomized that very thought, and so we thank you. And then it's all good, cuz.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you tell Betty I say hello.
I sure will. I sure will.
Oh yeah.
And I just like to end it too, Leah. You might get a chance to see him because I like to bring let Ron come down for our 72 class homecoming. He was here
Oh.
for our 45th, and I went over there and whispered in his ear, "You mind singing the song?" And he got up and sang "You Are So Beautiful," and
Oh.
all the girls in our 72 class left us and just
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
we're having our 50th on the last weekend of the month of October. Ron, if you can fit that in your schedule
Okay.
and come down and be with us during that time. You know, I'll remind you again, get
all
a
right.
chance to meet Leah and you know, interact with the family as well down here. So you know, I appreciate you, brother.
Oh yeah.
And you know I love you, and
Yeah.
give my regards to Butch, and we'll see you again. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And James, you know that last weekend is also homecoming, Norcom's homecoming weekend as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So
Homecoming weekend. That's why, yeah. Thanks. So
well, thank you so very much, Ron.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate
the
you.
coffee talk is here for
I guess it's time to get to work now.
Our community
In our future.
and our future.
right.
Yeah.
It's time to get to work. You're already at work, so just
Ron, we've seen a couple of people stand in your doorway and peep in, and then they continued on.
Yeah. Yeah, they're waiting on me to get some.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go do my little supervising thing. Supervising.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
All right. Bye bye now.
Bye-bye.
all right. Talk to you later, Ron.
Bye bye.
All right.
That was good.